In this video, we will be tasting and talking about batch 76 of the EcoChat Tea Club, Lalashan Light Roast High Mountain Oolong Tea. Batch 76 of the EcoChat Tea Club is a Lalashan Light Roast High Mountain Oolong Tea. Lalashan is the name of a mountain, and it also designates a high mountain tea growing region in Taoyuan County in northern Taiwan. And we're excited to finally have a chance to procure tea from this region for the first time. This source is actually a neighbor of mine who I met through a mutual friend who is a professional tea roller. And he knows a lot of factory owners and farm owners because the people who do the trade of tea rolling rotate through many venues during the tea harvest seasons. So, by word of mouth, so to speak, I met this fairly young farmer. I think he's about 40 years old. He inherited his father's farm, who inherited it from his father in turn. Their family initially developed land in the Shizuo area of the Lalashan High Mountain tea growing region, some of the earliest tea farms at higher elevations. And at some point, his dad went north to the new frontier, so to speak, of high mountain tea after Lalashan, Shanxi, and Lishan were pretty much developed in terms of the land that is available for new, basically to start farming. Anyway, this tea farm is a little over 20 years old, and the dad recently passed away, so it's totally in the control of our newly made friend here. We get a good sense from this guy. He's very conscientious, seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders, so to speak, smart guy, approaches farming from a scientific point of view. And yeah, we met him and had a good impression, and we're anxious to taste his tea. We've been tasting since last spring, almost a year ago. We tasted it, and the first impression that I had was it had a significant level of oxidation and had a nice sweetness to it, a nice balanced substance to it. And I was inspired to procure it and bring it to my Lugu friend, who is a professional traditional oolong tea maker, roaster. He's a professional tea judge at the Lugu Farmers Association. I said, will you do a light roasting of this batch of tea for me? And we checked it out and became aware that it had significant stem material. That's just how the crop grew. So in order to optimize the roasting conditions, I had it destemmed, just not super clean, so to speak. In other words, some of the stem materials left on it, just the larger stems were removed. Maybe between 10 and 15% of the overall volume was removed in stem material. Destemmed, roasted at lower temperatures, not, I think the highest didn't reach 100 degrees. So it started off at 80 degrees Celsius, went up to 90, probably pushed it into the 90s for the last phase of it. 3 times overall, so over 20 hours of roasting, but it's very mild. The low temperature, really just the point, or the main objective is to remove all the moisture, take out any lesser oxidized aspects of a green flavor note, a green grassy flavor note, and basically create a more balanced flavor profile. I brewed 12 grams of tea leaves in about a 175, 180 milliliter pot, starting at 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute 12, 1 minute 25, and then 2 minutes for the 5th brew. So, before we go further into the leaves, let's have a sip. It's very much cooled down to about room temperature now. It still has a fresh vegetal, slightly herbal, savory quality. It's alive, it's vibrant, but it also I'm personally quite pleased with the roasting, the effects of roasting. It's kind of what I was envisioning in procuring this batch of tea. And my friend who's quite skilled brought it to that level where it maintains the freshness, but it balances it out, accents the sweetness a little bit, and gives it a smooth mouthfeel and somewhat of a pastry aspect to the overall profile. Very nice and fresh still. I'm just going to go to the second brew. Yeah, somehow it maintains the aromatic notes, but mellows them from a fresh floral or vegetal into something like pastry, or just the kind of sweeter aspect to it. Maybe fruity, but not that sweet, really. I purposely waited after we packaged this up and we sent it out last week. It's been weeks, if not almost a month, since I tasted it. I like to kind of like after I go through the experience of procuring and whatever processing is involved, get the tea package, and then kind of forget about it or let my experience kind of fade a bit so that I can have a new, fresh experience when I do the tasting here. And I'm pleasantly surprised with the, I keep saying fresh, but that's what comes to mind. It's just a nice light, I think that's the best brew. That's the fourth brew at about 1.5 minutes. I'm starting to think more fruity, but it's a mild fruity. Weirdly enough, star fruit came to mind. Maybe pear. Something not so sweet, delicate with a lot of nose. Yum, it's almost like light candy-like. It's pretty satisfying. Okay, here's the fifth brew that brewed for 2 minutes. Definitely considerably darker. I'm shying away from what I used to do or have done many times in the past year or so, which is allow the fifth brew to go for like 10 minutes. I'm just realizing it really doesn't provide anything that interesting. It basically only is like a litmus test to see if it can handle that extensive brewing without getting super bitter or astringent. But it doesn't do a hell of a lot for the flavor profile. Still a bit warm, having been in the pitcher. Equally substantial, so it's holding its own at 5 brews. Yeah, quite substantial. Again, kind of this more subtle effect of that super brew thing, where it gets more a thicker mouthfeel, but the complexity is lost by brewing it for even 2 minutes. Might as well finish these off. Very nice nose. It's very satisfying. I'm continue to become more and more fond of these light roast high mountain oolongs. Just taking that substantial constituents in the leaves and mellowing them a bit, letting go of the high floral notes to an extent, but attaining a more balanced and fuller flavor profile. Yeah, they're very kind of obvious in terms of the thickness of the leaves. That's a more hardy stem, that it is winter growth. But it was picked on the less mature side, which I think is optimal for winter growth because the leaves are on the tree for considerably longer during the growing season in winter. So if they're left too long, they get too fibrous and lose their moisture and basically just get too old. So I think we hit it right in terms of getting a batch before that typhoon hit. He, being a very modest guy, I mean, he really is, even in this culture, relatively modest. And he didn't even offer to let me taste the batches that he made after the typhoon. So he was just kind of allowing me to get a good impression of, you know, he knows that I'm still forming an early impression of what he does and what his operation is about. The dried leaves look really nice, having been destemmed, a very uniform coloration, no yellowing, quality leaf in terms of the appearance of the dry leaves. So here we have it, Lalashan, northern Taiwan. So we're thinking 1,400 meters. Given the geography, northern Taiwan could be ideal for this region. And we look forward to continuing to get to know these people and hopefully visit their farm this year and check out what's going on up there. Lalashan light roast high mountain oolong tea, harvested in October. The end of October 2021, destemmed and roasted by our friend in Lugu, allowed to set for a couple of months now, purposely to just let these leaves really come into their own in terms of how they were treated. And we're happy to offer it at this time of the year, gearing up for spring. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time.